I got a call from one of Diddy's people.
Okay, this is set up.
Yeah. And I didn't say who it was.
Right.
You know, and I just said he wanted to talk to me.
Okay.
And if this person wanted to talk to me,
right,
you know what I'm saying, it had to be for Diddy, because I never f***ed with him.
I have no problem sitting in the court of law, doing my due diligence and testifying on stuff that I already spoke of on the internet. He should keep some rope on his soap, or make sure he don't drop it in certain places. In case if he do, he might like it.
Diddy's empire is crumbling as his own bodyguard prepares to tell all in court. What Marcus knows could send the music mogul to prison for years, and it might even connect to one of hip-hop's greatest unsolved mysteries.
When you that powerful, you didn't get that powerful without having one or two or maybe 3 ups on somebody.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a bombshell story that's shaking up the music world. Sean Diddy Combs, one of hip-hop's biggest names, is facing serious legal trouble. And now his former bodyguard Marcus has confirmed he's going to testify against him. This isn't just another celebrity scandal, it could rewrite music history as we know it. Before we get into the details, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates on this developing story. Now, let's break down what's happening and why it matters.
Puff was a millionaire.
Marcus isn't just any bodyguard, he was part of Diddy's inner circle during the height of Bad Boy Records' success. He was there for the parties, the studio sessions, and the behind closed doors meetings that the public never saw. And according to recent interviews, he's been keeping detailed records of everything he witnessed.
Did he make any kind of deals with them? Follow the money.
Let's start with the basics. Federal agents recently raided Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami. They seized hard drives, documents, and other evidence as part of a major investigation. The exact charges haven't been made public yet, but based on court filings, it appears to involve serious allegations about how Diddy ran his business and personal life. Marcus says he received a subpoena, which is a legal order requiring him to testify. In his own words, "I have no problem sitting in the court of law doing my due diligence and testifying on stuff that I already spoke of on the internet."
And you guys got to remember that he passed away 24 hours before posting a video exposing Diddy, Beyonce, and Jay-Z.
This is huge because people in the security business almost never talk. Their whole job depends on being trustworthy and keeping secrets. When you protect celebrities, you sign strict confidentiality agreements. Breaking those agreements usually means you'll never work in the industry again. So why is Marcus willing to risk his career? According to Marcus, this is about something bigger than job security. He claims he's been carrying these stories for decades, and they've been keeping him up at night. He doesn't see himself as a hero or a snitch, just someone who's tired of protecting what he believes was wrong.
And I'm gonna get into how I feel. Some people, their karma is so strong for what they do.
One of the most shocking aspects of this story involves someone known as Uncle Ron Smith. Uncle Ron was another former associate of Diddy's who allegedly recorded a video making serious accusations against both Diddy and Jay-Z. The most explosive claim? That they were somehow involved in the death of Christopher Biggie Smalls Wallace, one of rap's greatest legends. Here's where it gets even stranger. According to reports, within 24 hours of recording this video, Uncle Ron suddenly died of what was reported as pneumonia. The video disappeared and family members quickly shut down comments and removed clips from social media, actions that some found suspicious. Marcus claims that Uncle Ron saw trouble coming and left behind evidence, voice memos, thumb drives, and written records that only trusted friends could understand. He even suggests that some of the hard drives seized during the raids on Diddy's properties have serial numbers that Uncle Ron mentioned in their last conversation.
It was favors.
Now, it's important to remember that at this point, these are allegations, not proven facts. Diddy has not been convicted of any crime, and Jay-Z has not been charged with anything related to this case. But Marcus's willingness to testify under oath adds a new level of seriousness to these claims.
But to put your kids through some like that,
Let's talk about what Marcus might actually know. As a bodyguard, he would have been present for private conversations, behind-the-scenes decisions, and moments that the public never saw. He claims to have kept detailed shift reports, a standard practice for security professionals who need records for insurance purposes. These reports could potentially include information about who visited Diddy, when strange incidents occurred, or when unusual instructions were given. Marcus says he stored carbon copies of these reports in a climate-controlled unit under someone else's name to protect them.
He got to understand those kids is going through and going to be going through enough, not having a mother.
Another former Bad Boy employee, Gene Deal, has publicly supported Marcus's decision to testify. Deal has his own troubling story. He claims he begged for extra security the night Biggie was shot outside the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, but was overruled. Years later, he says he apologized to Biggie's mother, Voletta Wallace, for failing to keep her son safe. If Marcus's testimony lines up with Deal's stories, and if prosecutors can connect these accounts with physical evidence like call logs, hotel records, and internal memos, it could paint a very different picture of what was happening behind the scenes at Bad Boy Records.
His karma was bound to catch up with him, brother. What's happening to him now is one of the greatest tragedies that we're gonna ever read about, bro.
The legal team for Diddy will likely try to paint Marcus as a disgruntled ex-employee trying to cash in on a scandal. But Marcus insists he never accepted hush money, never signed away his right to speak, and even turned down a 7-figure offer from a Hollywood production company for his story.
Check this out, bro. He led Biggs to his death. He caused a rift between Wolf and BMF that led to Wolf death. Cussed Wolf mother out. Lied about owing him $300,000.
Now, what exactly might Marcus testify about? While we don't know everything, the court documents hint at some disturbing patterns. Prosecutors claim to have bank statements showing luxury shopping sprees that happened suspiciously close to when non-disclosure agreements were signed, suggesting people might have been paid to stay quiet. They also describe encrypted group chats that worked like command centers, with code names, pickup schedules, and instructions to take guests' phones away when they arrived. Defense attorneys say these were just normal expenses for hosting parties, but Marcus might be able to provide context that shows otherwise.
Cat Williams say, you just gotta say no to Diddy. And it's a lot of people that couldn't say no.
Marcus has relocated twice in 2 years. First to a cabin in Ontario, Canada, and then to an eco-village in Costa Rica. He says these moves were precautionary, not paranoid. When federal marshals finally found him, he was teaching self-defense to local teenagers. Security experts still consider the risk to Marcus high. In similar cases, witnesses often face pressure or intimidation once depositions begin and their stories become official. Investigators have reportedly urged Marcus to use encrypted communication channels and avoid predictable routines. Some supporters are even calling for witness protection.
And they probably on tape because they couldn't say no.
So you think it's possible that Diddy, he got footage of rappers in the stash, just in case he got to use it for blackmail?
It's a possibility.
The potential impact of this case goes way beyond Diddy himself. It could affect Jay-Z's reputation, even though he hasn't been charged with any crime. It could devalue Diddy's many business ventures, from vodka to clothing lines to television networks. It might even change how the music industry operates, potentially leading to stricter guidelines about how artists and employees are treated.
It's not far-fetched. If he was taping Cassie and he was having Cassie taped and everything like that, why wouldn't he do nobody else? She's the only one? I doubt it.
One particularly disturbing element involves what prosecutors describe as over 200 hours of surveillance video captured between 2003 and 2022. This includes footage from an overseas villa where, according to Marcus, some guests were told to hand over their passports before parties began. While defense attorneys will likely argue these were just private parties among consenting adults, Marcus suggests that consent becomes meaningless when people believe refusing could hurt their careers or even put them in danger.
I could have just kept my mouth closed.
Period.
I didn't have to tell Ms. Wallace nothing.
Nothing.
I didn't have to say nothing to nobody. That's what people don't understand. I chose to. You understand? They want to make up the stories they want to make up. And that's what you get this internet. You got a lot of people making up stuff. But then when the stuff come true, they look stupid, they don't say nothing. They quiet as a church mouse. He didn't get this from his daddy. You gotta realize, man, you know, his mother had a modeling agency.
There's also the mystery of a steel case that Uncle Ron allegedly left in a New Jersey storage locker under a fake name. Court records show investigators drilled the lock after getting a warrant. Inside, according to sources close to the investigation, were many DV tapes labeled with city names and dates. These tapes might contain backstage footage showing important conversations and orders being given.
You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent her to the hospital? Man, nigga was bleeding from the butt.
As the trial approaches, legal experts are debating whether Diddy might try to reach a plea deal to avoid the uncertainty of a jury trial. The optics of settling would clash with his image as a fearless businessman who won't stop, but the alternative could be years in federal prison. Marcus says he'll testify regardless, plea deal or not. He believes a complete account needs to be on the record. Meanwhile, Jay-Z's legal team is closely watching every development. Even if Jay-Z never faces criminal charges, a victory for prosecutors could encourage civil lawsuits against him. Entertainment lawyers warn that courts are increasingly open to arguments that connected business ventures share responsibility when wrongdoing benefits the group.
He's saying that about his mother. Who describes any of their mother actions like that in a sexual way?
So how did we get here? Let's step back and look at the bigger picture. For decades, the music industry has operated with its own set of rules. Artists and executives build teams of loyal people around them, bodyguards, assistants, producers, and others who keep their secrets. These team members sign strict confidentiality agreements. Personal assistants often give up the right to ever write a memoir. Photographers have to hand over memory cards at events. While these measures are presented as privacy protections, Marcus argues they often become tools to silence people and hide bad behavior. He points to an example where a tour accountant flagged suspicious six-figure transfers to a shell corporation, only to be replaced weeks later by someone more willing to look the other way. The internal audits then disappeared.
He should keep some rope on his soap or make sure he don't drop it in certain places. In case, if he do, he might like it.
The industry's insularity makes it difficult for outsiders to know what's really happening. Even major news outlets struggle with how to report on these allegations. They have to be careful about repeating unproven claims, but they also need to convey the seriousness of what's being alleged. This case could force everything into the open. If Marcus testifies in court, his words will become part of the public record. News organizations will either have to report what he says or risk being accused of protecting powerful interests. The ripple effects are already beginning. Insurance companies that cover world tours, product launches, and brand endorsements are reviewing their policies related to artists named in the indictment. Some brokers have started adding Combs carve-out language, refusing to cover events where Diddy appears. Streaming platforms are debating whether to downrank bad boy classics in case public outrage grows. Companies that rely on nostalgia licensing worry about how verdicts might affect their revenue. Fan reactions show divided loyalties. Some longtime Bad Boy supporters say they can separate the art from the artist. Others are deleting playlists in solidarity with potential victims. Hip-hop commentators note the irony. A genre that prided itself on exposing systemic injustice now faces its own reckoning about power dynamics within its ranks. Younger artists point to the scandal as proof that traditional gatekeepers aren't necessary and might even be dangerous. More musicians are choosing independent distribution models that give them greater control and transparency. Outside the courthouse, protest signs range from justice for Biggie to due process for Diddy. Some supporters argue the legal system unfairly targets successful Black entrepreneurs. Critics counter that accountability applies to everyone, regardless of race or wealth. Marcus acknowledges this tension. He grew up admiring executives who proved you could own your masters and build real estate empires. But he believes equality also means no one is above the law. For him, testifying isn't betrayal. It's affirming that the culture he loves deserves transparency. As jury selection approaches, TV networks are preparing for wall-to-wall coverage. Analysts compare the potential impact to other high-profile cases involving powerful figures. The difference, they note, is the sheer scope of Diddy's business empire. A guilty verdict could affect multiple industries, reset company valuations, and leave investors scrambling. Marcus seems prepared for the personal fallout. He expects friends still in Diddy's circle to cut ties. He anticipates online trolls flooding his social media. He even expects some journalists to portray him as an opportunist. What he didn't expect were private messages from younger security guards thanking him for showing that breaking silence is possible. These messages comfort him when doubts creep in. He tells himself that if the trial leads to tougher industry guidelines and better protection for clients without enabling misconduct, then the personal cost will be worth it. The countdown has begun. Court calendars mark the day when a security detail becomes a star witness, when private whispers will echo through public halls, and when music history confronts some of its most uncomfortable questions under the pressure of cross-examination. The outcome remains uncertain. Marcus's testimony might dismantle a legend or simply add footnotes to an already complicated story. But one thing is clear: the music industry will never be quite the same again. For people who grew up with bad boy hits as the soundtrack to their lives, this case forces difficult questions about the true cost of the entertainment we consume. If the allegations prove true, it would mean some of hip-hop's greatest moments came from a deeply troubled organization. But this story also offers hope. If sunlight truly is the best disinfectant, then perhaps the industry that emerges after this reckoning will be healthier, safer, and more transparent. Perhaps future artists won't have to choose between success and speaking up when they see something wrong. As we wait for the trial to begin, it's worth remembering that testimony like Marcus's doesn't happen in a vacuum. It takes courage to break ranks, especially in an industry where loyalty is prized above almost everything else. Whether you see him as a truth teller or a traitor likely depends on your perspective, but his willingness to go on the record forces us all to confront questions we might prefer to avoid. That's where this story stands today: a former insider ready to tell what he knows, a music mogul facing the fight of his life, and a public watching closely, wondering which version of history will ultimately prevail. Thanks for watching this breakdown of the Diddy case and Marcus's upcoming testimony. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might be interested. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates as this story develops. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Marcus is doing the right thing by testifying? Should celebrities be held to the same standards as everyone else? I'd love to hear your take. Until next time, stay informed and keep the conversation going.